Hey everybody, this is Barbara, Hippie Homesteader Wannabe here, and I thought I'd try a little different setup. But I've got these bell peppers that I want to get into the freezer. I've got 3 big green ones, a big orange one, and a big red one. So I thought while I was preparing those for the freezer, I would talk a little bit, and so see if we could get a little chatty video out of this. Anyway, the way I do them is I have this tool deal. I don't know who makes it, OXO or somebody, but it's pretty cool. It's you've probably seen them before, but it's got a grate there, and this has a little bit of onion debris on it. The onion is hard to clean off. I really like it best for peppers or everything. It just chops them really nicely. And so the way I do them is first of all, I try to cut the core out where I don't lose a whole lot of the actual flesh. You know, I see them on the cooking shows and because they're always in a big hurry, you know. They cut them like that, and all of this actual bell pepper they lose. So anyway, what I wanted to talk about, once I get this going, is the fact that I like to post a lot of vegetarian and vegan recipes and content and stuff, but I'm obviously not vegetarian or vegan because I also make chicken broth and stuff like that. So anyway, here's the core coming out. I'm gonna stick that. We'll have a thing here for the chickens, and if you tap it, you can get those extra seeds out. So what I like to do with these, but I am going to talk about my eating, why I either am or am not vegetarian or vegan or whatever. But I like to cut these into sections that are about this size, like 2 by 2 inches. It doesn't matter what the shape is exactly. And then if they're like smallish pieces like this, you can do them in this thing, and it works very well. So let's see if I can get that. I may have to stand up for this part, but what I'm first going to do is get them all in the right place. Let me lower you so you can see how this thing works, because it's pretty cool. And then you push down like that and it goes through, and you can see it down underneath. And there's even like measuring deals on the side if you needed those for anything. So what I'm first going to do, these are all washed, so first I'm going to core them, and then I'm going to cut them into this size, and then I'll go through this process. So while I'm talking, I'm going to be cutting them down and not doing that, okay? And I hope that makes sense, kinda. So anyway, I wrote up what I wanted to talk about. Let's see. It's weird. On these papers here. So, alrighty. First thing is that you should know that I have been, well, like a lot of people my age probably, kind of got enamored with the idea of the gentle vegetarian that didn't harm anything. Way back in 1970, my favorite singer was Melanie. Her whole name is Melanie Safka, but she always just went by Melanie back then, and she still has a lot of dedicated fans, and she's a pretty cool person. I've got to see her twice in person in the later years, but I didn't get to see her way back then, which would have really been cool. But she sang a song called I Don't Eat Animals, and ever since then, that was probably would have been about 1970 that I heard it, and ever since then I've kind of had that as a goal that I wouldn't eat animals, but I've always had kind of a hard time getting it to actually work. You know, it's like I'm not as, I like the idea, but it's the actual carrying it out is not as easy as all that for me. Partly because I really like chicken. I could probably do without beef or pork. Pork's good. Ham is so delicious, and sausage. But you know, the thing is, they have some pretty good substitutes these days. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now, is mostly I use the substitutes. But I don't call myself a vegan or vegetarian. And whoops, those seeds need to go there. Anyway, before I talk about why I can't, I got my paper wet, why I can't be vegan or vegetarian, I wanted to talk a little bit about why a person might want to make the effort. And of course, the first reason would be animal welfare. Too many animals live in deplorable conditions, only to face a frightening death at the end of it. And I'm pretty much convinced that that's not really essential for the well-being of the human animal, to have all those animals giving so much for us. Anyway, and a second reason is that factory farming of meat, the way it's done right now, is probably the worst source of pollution in the environment that there is, even worse than transportation with fossil fuels, because there's a lot of fossil fuels involved in animal agriculture, moving the cattle around and the pigs and then the fertilizers on the feed fields, you know, the fields that are growing the GMO corn and the GMO soy that they feed those animals. And they say that the single thing you can do to reduce your carbon footprint is to reduce the amount of meat you eat. And so that's worth keeping in mind. But I would, let's see, the third reason is health. You know, you will hear a lot of people talk about going vegan or vegetarian for their health. And let's see, while it can't be denied that reducing saturated fats and eating more whole food, plant-based meals will result in better cholesterol and blood pressure numbers, it hasn't been proven that there's any benefit in removing every single morsel of animal food from your diet. Reduce it yet, but there are essential nutrients provided by an occasional piece of meat or fish that plant-based foods just have a really hard time matching. And one thing that I personally feel like, and I don't have any proof for this, but I feel like my body kind of craves some meat every once in a while. Because when I do try to go without, and in fact, I went about a year without eating any kind of meat or fish. Back, oh man, it's been a long time. It was probably over 35 years ago, maybe. And when I went back to eating meat, which I did when I met a guy, you know, why else would you change anything? But man, it was like somebody had turned my brain on when I went back to having meat once in a while. So I really feel like it provides something that I can't quite get from the plant-based sources. You really have to work at your nutrition to get it all, which I'm not going to say it's not worth it. I think it's lovely. And then I have a hard time with the absolute why of it. This is going to be a horrible video. But, because my convictions, you know, if you're really convicted about something, I know somebody told me a long time ago, I was talking to them about how easy it was for me to keep up with cloth diapers, and I said, you know, I'm one of the laziest people I know, and yet I used cloth diapers with my babies, even twins, and I never complained about it. I liked them, actually. I thought they made so much more sense than the disposables. And she said, it's because you have a conviction about it. And I think she was right, that I just felt so strongly that it was the right thing to do, that it was easier for me. It's like it was almost harder to wrap my brain around using disposables when they just, to me, they just seem like such a bad choice for the environment and for the financially, you know, they cost so much. And my babies always actually had less diaper rash when I was using cloth. But I think it's because you tend to put off changing them when you know they're in something that's gonna be one and done, you know, and so you're kind of hoping to get more mileage out of it, maybe. Anybody else keep these little things and stick them in? I think it's just more good pepper flesh. So anyway, the trouble taken that it takes to eat vegetarian, and especially if you're trying to go completely vegan, is really, it's a lot of trouble, especially where we live, that in restaurants and stuff, if you're trying to eat vegan, and I mean the options are what? A baked potato with a little bit of dry broccoli on top of it. There are no true vegan options, hardly at all. And even the vegetarian options are pretty much just like a cheese omelet with some vegetables on it or something like that. Or a cheese pizza with maybe mushrooms. So, I mean, those are yummy, and I'm good with those. But sometimes it's, I don't know, sometimes you just don't want to worry about those little peripheral things. And then I've got one other aspect, and that's that I have come to the place where I don't want to be like pinned down and say, yes, I am a, or like my identity. I don't want my identity to be I am a blah, or I am blah. You know, I want to keep that open so that, you know, I mean, if it works out, sure, I'll be whatever it is when I can. But if things are like going against it, I don't want to have to go against this big identity thing in order to do the thing that's expedient at the time. And that might be where I differ from other people, but I have been down this guilt and religion path for so long that I just can't like identify as this or that thing. So anyway, that's basically where I'm at on that. And anyway, there's a group on Facebook called Let's Go Veganish, and it's run by a lady named, that goes by Raquelita D, I believe. And I've got a quote here of hers that I'd like to just read. And she's talking about why being vegan-ish is good enough. For the animals, for the environment, for everything. Something I want to clarify. These are her words. I'm not saying that any day, any time, you're going to have to expend a lot more effort to make something vegan. For example, let's say you're eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with potato chips, an apple, and some baby carrots, and Oreos for dessert. Hey, it's already vegan. You didn't have to spend any extra effort to make it vegan. What I'm talking about is if you insist on veganism being an all or nothing proposition, so that you have to spend several days looking for appropriate shoes that are fully vegan, or you have to bring all your own food to a shared dinner situation on the fear that even the veggie side dishes will be seasoned with butter, bone char sugar, honey, chicken broth, gelatin, lard, or otherwise tainted in some way by non-vegan ingredients. You don't accomplish much for animals by strictly avoiding these hidden ingredients or by policing your shoes, your clothes, your bedding, your cosmetics, your vitamins, your medicines to that extent. But you make your own life a lot more difficult. Now, that's not to say there isn't any value in trying for vegan alternatives. For sure there is value in it, and that's why I look out for vegan alternatives every day, all the time. My point is simply that for the times when going for that would make your life too difficult or less enjoyable, there's no shame in doing what's best for you in the moment versus sacrificing things for the sake of maintaining 100% boycott, especially when 100% boycott is not even what is needed to help trillions of animals who are suffering right now today. You don't accomplish much additional for animals by being a stickler for these small things around the margins. So if it's making your life difficult, you don't need to worry about it. And if you do want to worry about it, she says, that's fine, do what makes you happy. My point is that being a stickler is not necessary for the sake of the animals, and that's great news for the animals because most people don't want to be sticklers with no flexibility. And an example of some of those little peripheral things are like ranch dressing. I'm going to stand up and start doing these. But I like to use a light ranch salad dressing, a cheap light ranch salad dressing on my salads, or like to dip a fake chicken nugget in or something like that. It's 80 calories in 2 tablespoons for the cheap brand like Aldi's or wherever of a light ranch salad dressing. But of course it's got the buttermilk, it's not vegan. But if you, it's like, I've got them for like, I think the price is up now, maybe $1.50 or thereabouts. But you know, if you want to buy a bottle of vegan ranch dressing, it's going to be like half the size. It's going to be $6 or $7. It's crazy the amount you have to pay just to get that tiny little bit of you know, buttermilk out of there. And so to me, that kind of thing, or like a vegan butter as compared to like a regular light margarine that maybe has some ingredient that somewhere or another came from a cow. But actually, if you read the labels on something like Parkay, it's pretty much vegan too. And you can save a lot of money by getting those regular brands over the things that are especially vegan. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to keep working on these, and I hope that wasn't too boring. So have a great day, everybody. Thanks for watching. And you know, if you want to subscribe or like or anything like that, that would sure be appreciated.